Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports here, myself Charlie. A reminder before the video starts, please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Now, this week was the Champions League round of 16 ties, second legs, and there was plenty of action, plenty of talk points and plenty of goals. Especially goals being fired into English teams' net, as 4 out of the 6 teams in the round of 16, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle and Tottenham all exited the competition, leaving Arsenal and Liverpool, although some of them won't like it, flying the flag for English football. Now, it has then led to a bit of a, internal crisis, so to speak, that I think has been heavily blown up by journalists looking at why the Premier League is struggling in Europe and what are the issues facing English football. I think there's so many different talking points around this that I'm going to try and cover. But I think the first thing I'm going to say is, in my opinion, as a fan of not a top six side of Nottingham Forest, who are not in the top as the top six or the big six, as Sky phrased it, I think this is blown up by journalists for starters, because I don't actually think, or certainly I don't care if the English teams do very well. I'm certainly not cheering on Chelsea against PSG or Man City against Real Madrid because I perceive it as to be for the good of English football. I don't care. I mean, would I like to see a potential England player who's going to play for us at the World Cup get injured? No, of course I wouldn't. But then that could happen playing for Real Madrid or Bayern Munich in the case of Bellingham and Kane. So I'm not... I mean, that's just my opinion before I start this conversation. But it is still something I think is important to discuss. And I think, as I say, it's a multifaceted talking point. Because I think, for starters, the quality of the league this year, the Premier League, I think is the poorest I can remember for a long time. The league has become so set-piece heavy. Me and my friend would discuss this. My friend's a West Ham season ticket holder. I go Forest quite a lot. I'm a member. And we were discussing and we were saying, for example, Brentford. Everyone's going to leap on the Arsenal case, but Brentford, you can tell Keith Adams is their coach. I've watched Forest against Brentford home and away this year, and they play for set pieces. It's almost like an NFL team playing for set pieces, or a rugby team. Arsenal as well, the top team in England, who, yes, got through against Leverkusen, they are such a set-piece centred side. They're a good side defensively, it's worth pointing out. Saliba and Gabriel are brilliant defenders, but it is so set-piece dependent, and they are, I think, champions-elect. I can't see anyone else taking over. So, in my opinion, I think that is a reflection for starters. And as well, another point about it is wingers. Like, last year for Forest, Hudson-Odoi and Elanga were so pivotal in our success. Elanga's gone on to pastures new, struggled at Newcastle, though he did score 2 last night at the Camp Nou. And I think Hudson-Odoi struggled this year, but it's a wider issue in the league. I think that wingers are struggling. And I think then you look at these teams that are doing really well. For example, Vinicius obviously jumps on, but as well, Kvaratskhelia, who's, for me, one of my favourite players to watch. Yamal. There's other players as well who are so technically gifted playing out the wing. I don't think there's many of them in the Premier League who are playing at the minute, because wingers have changed. The role of the wing has changed because of, for example, what Pep Guardiola's done. I know everyone likes to jump on the Pep hate, but I do think this is a case of him. And I think that's maybe a wider reflection of the league as well, that the league became, for so many years, there's so many managers coming through who tried to play like Pep. And the Germans warned us this would happen. They said, just be careful, because everyone tries to copy him and then it doesn't work. And this is sort of what I think's happened as well in England. A lot of people as well point to the fact that our league is a lot more competitive than, let's say, the French league and the German league and La Liga. And people say, oh, the 16th team of the Prem would beat the 16th team of La Liga easily. That's probably the case, but I think the flip side of that coin is that as leagues to watch go, I don't think the Premier League's the best to watch. And actually, I think as well, the Premier League has found out this year, tactically they've perhaps been outsmarted, but as well, I think some of the players that are playing are potentially slightly overhyped. I went and watched Crystal Palace playing Mostar because I was on holiday in Bosnia, and I remember being stopped by a local man coming out the stadium. He was Bosnian, and he pointed at Brennan Johnson, who was on the pitch, and he said he was 35 million. And I sort of went, yeah. And even as a Forest fan, I thought, yeah, you're not wrong. But the fees are so inflated that we've been so programmed to think these players are worth that money. And I actually think they're not in a lot of cases. I think another factor that is important to talk about, sort of leads on from that point of view, is the Premier League as its whole, as a product, I think it's become that. I said it there in that sentence there. It's become a product. We're as much talk about what's going on off the pitch as we are talking about what's on the pitch, because I think what's on the pitch is not great. And despite how much Sky tries to tell you it's brilliant and ram it down your throats with 1,000,001 different podcasts and programmes, I don't think it's that great to watch. And I think as an English football fan, I've felt this in the last few years, the Premier League feels a different planet to the football pyramid. And it's become not, I don't think it is even an English league anymore. It's a global league. The owners aren't English, or very rarely are English. They're owned by states or wealthy trust funds. The players, although there's a selection, there's a sprinkling. We haven't got a Barcelona's academy of producing so much. I mean, Cobham does produce a lot of good players, it's fair to say, but then they seem to get farmed out here, there, and everywhere. I think it's a global league, and I think fundamentally, the Premier League doesn't care about the good of the English football, the FA. They care about the good of themselves because they're a business who's probably looking at the NBA or the NFL and want to be football's answer to that. But I think this week has been a rude awakening for these clubs. And as well, I think another factor that's on that and should be pointed out before people start talking about that is we have a lot more expensive squads and a lot bigger squads. Newcastle's squad on Wednesday cost 341 million. Barcelona's cost 97 million. Now, yes, Barcelona got the benefit of La Masia, but I personally think that for me, that's an example. Arsenal squad is huge. Man City squad, we spend the money loads. We just, A, don't necessarily buy the right players, and B, a lot of these players are overhyped. And I don't think we can bemoan it. And I think, dare I say it, I don't care, and I don't mind the fact that the Premier League hype's being knocked down, because I think then people will start to realise what this league is becoming, because it is becoming, I hate the term tourist league, but it is becoming that. Clubs now, Man City have lost their roots. English football is in a real, I think, a crossroads where, we're even seeing Man City, as much as the plastic terms thrown out at Man City fans. I've been to Etihad twice with Forest as an away fan, and, as much as people say, oh yeah, they're plastic, they weren't there, they have, a lot of Mancunians support Man City. I remember my French teacher was from Manchester. He was a massive Man City fan, and he always told us about it. And I think their fans are saying we're being priced out. Even Forest, my club, are pricing fans out, are charging way too much money for quite average games at times. And I think that's a factor. I think, we're seeing more and more, it's lost its roots. And these teams are perhaps floating, whereas you look at other clubs, other cities and other leagues, the fans are still there. That's why a lot of English football fans look at Germany, look at Italy, look at the stands and go, wow, that's what we want. But we've lost that. I don't think it's a crisis. It's not a crisis. It's a one-season thing. If it starts to happen often, then it is a crisis. But I do think it's raised important questions that I hope are discussed over these next few days surrounding English football. As always, guys, let us know what you think. Please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Talk about all sport. Let us know what you think. Have a great day.